how about you'll give it to anybody that emails us with the link to their review?
Their review. Oh, that's an awesome idea. That's an awesome idea. All right, so do a review.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Donna, guess what episode this is?
I believe, if I am counting properly, it is 40.
Episode 40.
Yeah.
It's close to your age, isn't it?
We got a ways to go.
Yeah, we got maybe another digit to put in there or two.
Well, it seems like just yesterday, though, we were going, how are we going to do this? About a year ago, we were trying to figure out this concept. And not only did we actually finish something, we've managed to maintain it. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I think the conversation went like this. I says, so Donna, have you ever heard of a podcast? And you were like,
Yeah, but why you asking?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how you answer most of my questions, is usually with, because
why
you're trying
you
to figure out, you're trying to figure out what is he about to throw on me.
Yep. And it's worked out okay. But
so I had to talk you into it a little bit, but I think it was not necessarily the idea I had to convince you of, is more so than the how in the heck are we going to find time to do yet another thing.
Yeah, I'm still complaining about that.
Yeah, and so I keep doing that to you, and I'm sure we'll talk about that before the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
That I've dragged you into yet another thing.
Yeah. So we are. And somehow I feel as I'm in the quicksand and you just keep going, hey, I'll be there in a minute. I got another idea.
Well, as long as you're talking, you're breathing.
So episode 40, and it's our Valentine's Day episode.
Oh, so much love in this episode. I just can't
give
wait.
you some love.
If I had my Barry White voice on, we'd have to start recording earlier in the morning to get that. So we're going to dive into one of the things that we love so much about HIPAA that we talk about a lot, which is the training aspect.
And we haven't done a specific episode that talks about building a training program at all. And we realize we talk about it all the time, but we never talk about it.
Yeah, we haven't dived into the, is it dived? Dove?
Diving?
We haven't divined the whole who, what, when, where, why, how.
Oh, God.
All those things that go along with training. We just haven't gotten into that. We talk a lot about you have to have a training program and you need to do something more than just annual and all that. But we haven't really gotten down into that. So that's what we're going to do in this episode.
Some training love. But before we start giving you training love, we're going to ask you to give us a little love.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't already, go ahead and pause the podcast. Go to iTunes. Don't pause it yet because then you won't hear what I got to say. But go to iTunes. Review the podcast, please. It helps other people to find us. It helps other people to be able to understand what it is that we're doing here. And it helps Donna to justify the amount of time that she's given me. But yeah, she loves it. When we get a review, I typically get a phone call or an email right away. And the weeks we don't get a review, I usually can't get Donna on the phone at all. She's in
I don't want to talk
deep
to you.
depression.
So you can review us on iTunes from your Apple device. And a lot of people get confused about that because you can't do it online. You have to do it from the device. So your iPad or your iPhone of sorts. And if you don't use an Apple device and iTunes, you can also leave comments on the services that you're downloading from for Android, as well as right on our website. You can go right to the, if you're listening online, you can post a comment down below. So help us out.
I think you can do it from the iTunes app too, right? I'm not the app, but the PC software. So you can download to your PC or Mac.
Yep. I think you can do it from there as well. Yep. Yep. From the iTunes app.
So there's really no excuse to not have at least one or two new reviews by February 14th. for our Valentine's Day present.
We need it. We need you to give us some love and share us. We need the love.
Share the love.
Share the love. So now we've screwed around enough and tortured you. Thanks for hanging around this long to now hear the training love we have to share with you.
Yes. So let's start with the who needs the training.
Who?
Who in the workforce
Who?
has to have the HIPAA training?
Everybody.
Everybody. And that starts with whom?
Well, everybody from a CEO to an intern, a volunteer, the janitor, if you have one that's on staff. If you use subcontractors and you want to make sure they're actually getting trained, you can include them. A lot of times you'll have like a subcontractor that does transcription or things like that. You can include them. If you're a software company, it's the programmers and the salespeople and all of the accounting staff. Everybody has to understand what you have part of. Now, if it's a giant organization where there's a tiny department or subset that they're the only ones that ever deal with HIPAA, then you can just train them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a small company, that's not really going to be the case. You're not going to be enough of a hybrid entity that you could keep them completely separate. I don't think so. Do you?
No. And as we've learned as of late, talking to your law firm may be something that might help as well.
Yeah, I know. Study found that law firms aren't doing their HIPAA compliance at all. So,
or they don't even understand it.
Yeah, true that. True that. They didn't understand it.
Yeah. Because, you would think inherently a law firm would understand legal things and legislation and regulations and all that, but it's just not the case.
Well,
I understand.
There's a lot of law, so if they don't specialize in HIPAA is a very, very niche area, and as we both know quite well.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's something to look at. But, when you talked about the janitor, I know initially somebody may be listening and kind of chuckle when you say that. But I mean, honestly, we're not joking. The janitor can sometimes be what keeps you from having a breach.
Yeah, they see things, they know things. And if you teach them to let you know when they see things and know things, it will be very valuable to you.
Yeah.
As well as explaining to them, if you do that, things can go horribly awry for you and everybody else. So please don't do that.
Yeah, I can think of several times in 2015 where had somebody had a janitor that understood HIPAA, they wouldn't have had multiple thousands of documents in a dumpster somewhere.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, and so, even we won't go into details, but I can tell you, even if you have a kid who comes in to help clean out an area, you need to make sure they understand, and you check things out and say, if anything looks like it's got patient information on it, number one, don't touch it. Don't look at it. Come get somebody. Don't take that whole box that says do not throw away and throw it in the dumpster with patient information. I'll just get that out there right now. So yes, there's a great deal of value, and it doesn't matter. There actually is a case that we know of near and dear to our hearts that involved a kid coming in one afternoon, being the muscle, cleaning out some stuff, putting things in a dumpster. One afternoon, one young kid still going on and will continue to be a problem. And it could be a very, very expensive problem with over 2,000 patients involved. So it does matter to take that time, no matter what they're doing or where they're from. And there's cases of volunteers being able to do things. So you want to, there's a lot of issues. So everybody. And I love it when the CEOs come into the training classes I'm in. I always make sure I acknowledge they're there. So, hey, I appreciate you being there. Sometimes they give me response that only could happen from the back of the room. So that's the who. And the what brings us to the difference of regurgitating the law and applying it to how people do their job. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like you don't want your pilot of your airplane to only had sat through a class where somebody told them the concepts of flying an airplane and didn't actually tell them how to do those things or, show them in their real job. Here's how you would fly the plane. you want them to actually know how and relate it to what they're doing day in and day out. And if you don't do that and you just regurgitate the law, then you end up with things like, oh, this HIPAA thing, it's going to go away. Or yeah, we don't need to worry about it because as soon as they overturn Obamacare, HIPAA's out. That's my new favorite. Yeah. 1996, HIPAA law, 1996 put into law. Has nothing to do with Obamacare. Nothing at all. No connection. There's a few things, further down ACA that could affect it, but no. ACA can go away. HIPAA's still screaming loud and clear. Nothing changes.
So when they get into the what of training, and I think we'll talk about this probably a little bit more, but we definitely want to make sure that you don't start the class out with, all right, it's time to do our annual HIPAA training. I know it's boring. I know it stinks, but we have to do it. Let's get it over with. Yeah. You're already setting up an environment of, oh gosh, here we go again. We got to watch this, lousy 45-minute video that, just it reeks of nothing but legislative and regulatory jargon. It's awful.
Yeah.
The training available out there it gets the job done, but it's not fun to do.
Well, and it needs to be tailored. So everybody should get the same basic training to put it into a framework that you want everybody to function under. That's why we have a basic training that we do. And, and it's built around very basic concepts and definitions. So everybody knows what they are. Mm-hmm. And then you have very specific training then that goes into maybe what you want to talk to the front office because they're going to deal more with patient interaction, or the programming staff because they're going to need to look for security holes and you want them to do certain things when they find them. And the same thing goes for billing versus clinical. We just had our friend, the nerdy nurse, on to bring in clinical, and I'm trying to find more ways to bring in that clinical discussion because clearly listening to her, with I don't care if that doesn't belong in the body picture, and all the things that they deal with, we've got plenty of cases of those. So it takes us out of HIPAA, the security stuff, into privacy is where the clinical people spend most of their time.
Mm-hmm. It's about patient care.
Hey, it's not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Absolutely. Trademark.
Yeah. Ding. We don't know what that means, but yeah. So what you train is important, and it's the same, and I use it over and over and over, but it's something everybody can relate to. Teaching your teenager to make the bed in January, and then you don't, show them how. Again, how many times is that going to happen? Especially when nobody looks in their room and nobody cares until next January, which is the perfect segue to when you train.
Every January.
Yeah, I love it when I'm reviewing training programs and I was like, okay, well, tell me about your training program. Well, we do that every year. Okay, what's in it? When you ask people and they say we have an annual training, they have to get at least annual training. Okay, but still, what's in it? Because if we don't make sure that every single person's in it and it relates to them and their job, the who and the what, it's really not helpful to do it annually. Now, is it?
No, it's not at all.
No.
There's no way in the world you can build a culture of compliance and document that and prove it if you're only doing something once a year. You can't, I don't think you can do anything once a year and know anything about it from year to year that's going to be enough.
Yeah. Well, you and I, there's a lot of things that in IT, you don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to configure one thing, or you don't have to, especially with writing code. There's things, you bounce back and forth between all these different languages, especially database languages, and you're using basically the same thing, but it's tweaked a little differently in this scenario than it would be in another. The syntax is a little different. You got to go look it up. I can't remember all of that. And if I don't have it right in front of me, I won't even think about going to look it up. And sometimes I say, well, this is the way it is. And I don't go look it up and oopsie. So, I'm not doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always say. Well, I don't do that all the time.
Yeah. And it's hard, it's hard to expect any more from your workforce if you're not providing them with the proper training and information they need.
Yeah. Training is key because like a lot of the consultants will come in and they'll either blame management or they'll blame staff or they'll say, nobody's trained. And that is always the key. Do I have the proper training? And are we making sure that we're doing things, at least quarterly with some monthly reminders? And, HIPAA also requires a security awareness program on top of the training program.
Mm-hmm.
So security awareness is a little bit different. It's not just the training program. It's regular reminders and posters or screensavers and things that reinforce it. So it should be something that you hear it enough, you're always thinking about it. That's the idea, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll throw this in, little ad hoc thing here. I developed a screensaver for my clients that just has a bunch of reminders of what to do and what not to do. If I will give that to anybody who emails us at contact@helpmewithhipaa.com. Shoot us an email.
How about you'll give it to anybody that emails us with the link to their review?
Their review. Oh, that's an awesome idea. That's an awesome idea. All right, so do a review. See, Donna just added to it. So do a review. Shoot us a link to it or a screenshot, and tell me you want that screensaver. And I will send it to you.
And it's not a complicated screensaver thing. It's just pictures you put in a folder and point the screensaver at it, right?
Yeah, I designed all these very nice pictures with some very good information on it. It's really short stuff. It's not like a paragraph of stuff. It's just things like, make sure that no one sees your password. Make sure you don't leave your computer logged on, stuff like that.
Yeah, so you can even print them out and make them posters that go with the screensavers, reiterating things.
Absolutely. So I had that on my computers, and I put those on my clients' computers. It's just one extra step that subliminally trains them to follow security. And it's not about HIPAA. It doesn't go into HIPAA this, HIPAA that. It talks about privacy and security, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So, and like I said, it's just a good reminder. Plus, you should have a screensaver set up anyway. So instead of having the pipes running all over your screen, you have very nicely done backgrounds with some cool information on it.
And it gives some love to Help Me with HIPAA, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. So do that. Shoot us the email, show us the screenshot or a link, and I'll send you that absolutely free of charge.
Yeah. Are you going to do an installation and all of that for free?
No. I will send you the screensaver. Yeah, I'll send you the screensaver. I'll be more than happy to install it on all your systems, but not for free.
Well, you can at least give them instructions.
Yeah. So it's easy. Like Donna said, it'll be a zip file. You just simply unzip it. I know that's funny. Simply. Some people are like, what?
I know, really?
But yeah, just put it in your...
remember it's us versus...
Yeah. I get that a lot from people. Yeah. You got to remember, not everybody understands. So yeah, just put it in your pictures folder, and then I can send you instructions. It's not difficult to do. But anyway, so we'll show you some love if you show us some love. How about that?
Here we go. Love for love.
On to what you were saying. So that's you don't want to do it once a year. You want to make it at least quarterly with monthly reminders. And then look at doing the posters and the screensavers and anything else that you can do to reinforce it, which would be also maybe even a very, very short, and we talked about this before, having short weekly trainings like a 5-minute Friday where you can get with your staff and stuff like that and kind of go over what you learned in the podcast.
Yeah. You can talk about that, and there's a lot of groups that we work with that everybody has these regular staff meetings of some sort, or most everybody does. And whether it's smaller or company wide, if you put 5 minutes on those agendas, I mean, that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. If you tie it back to your annual training, your quarterly training, then the 5 minutes on the regular staff meetings each month matters. And another thing is people put these posters up and signs up and everything, but if you never move them around,
you start getting invisible.
They get invisible. So change them up, move them around. That's another idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that the win is really you want somebody to see it every day. You just want to be constantly pounding them with like a hammer.
Yeah. But because honestly, it's a cheap preventative method.
Because we talk about it. It's the people. It's the people that are the issue. It's the people.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter how awesome your IT company is and how much security you have, whether it be physical or electronic or otherwise. You could have somebody at the front desk just absolutely giving out information left and right that they shouldn't be giving out. And all the things that you've done to secure things physically and electronically just goes out the window.
Oh, yeah. It's like, don't you know not to do that? Well, I do, but I was busy.
What's that show? The show that used to come on? You're the weakest link?
Yeah, that's it. You're the weakest link. Your security is only as good as your weakest link, and the weakest link is almost always people.
Yep. Goodbye.
Yeah. That one little kid that came in on the afternoon, weakest link.
Mm-hmm.
Big, strong guy, can move a big thing.
I've had people tell me that they have, their teenage son or teenage nephew or something like that coming in and doing their IT work, which scares me to death. Mm-hmm. But I've heard that as well. You can't have your neighbor come in and do stuff like that, or your kid. You're just not gonna. It's not a good idea.
If you do, you better be training them.
Yeah,
and they better understand about security and firewalls and all this other stuff. They don't
monitoring, reporting.
I know. It's not the world that you think, used to. It's like, hey, we got a computer today. Everybody gather around, look. It's not like that anymore. It's no longer like that. No. So, we're reaching that point where security is not an afterthought. It shouldn't be. We're actually past that point. Mm-hmm. It should be part of everything. And that's why we say that your training program, because you're supposed to have these written, planned training programs that we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Here's how we're going to do it. You can say the what is we're going to have a basic. We're going to have, different kinds of pieces of information that go into the different job areas, whether it's front office or billing or clinical or support desk or programming. Everybody needs to understand it in the context of doing their job on a regular basis. Be reminded about that. And then the how matters because people learn different ways.
Yeah. But they all want to be entertained while learning.
That's why it's so hard for me to go to training.
Yeah. Well, I think that's honestly the reason why a lot of people listen to this podcast. And I'm visualizing somebody now just shaking their head because every time we get an email from a listener, inevitably it says somewhere in there that I can't believe I'm actually, laughing out loud while listening to a podcast about compliance.
They're corny, but it's their personality.
Yeah.
I like that one. I'm proud of it. Wear it with a badge.
We are corny. But
because we can't say all of the other things we say when we're not on the air.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? But no, I mean, it's a difficult topic. I mean, you're talking privacy and you're talking security and you're talking compliance, and that can be so dry and boring that and I don't know about you, but I can't be that serious for that long.
No, I can't either. It's too hard. I just was on the Business Radio X show, the Atlanta Most Trusted Advisor show, and I was talking about how one of the co-hosts, she knows me. So and you said I was so chill because I was a wreck trying to make sure I didn't say something because it was live. And just before they hit the little on air button, to light up the sign, she looks over and says, "You and I need to concentrate on not saying something we shouldn't." And
great.
I was like, "Oh man, there went my day."
Yeah. So now instead of just freely talking, you have to have that little filter in your head.
The filter was turned on immediately. So
yeah, that's why you sound like you were smoking marijuana.
You did. You said that. You did say that.
Yeah.
And for the record, I was not. I do not. participating in that. I have asthma, so can't do that anymore. So
can't do it anymore.
And neither will confirm nor deny the how though. So the podcast is here we go. The podcast is audio learning, and you have people that learn better by hearing it. And we're falling off the cliff. And then you have people that need the video training. They need to see the pictures and have things move in front of them. And when we say video, I don't mean just throw up a sign with a whole bunch of words on it and somebody talks about it. And then you throw up another sign with a whole bunch of words on it. We've learned about how it needs to move and it needs to be limited and get, others need, they're tactile learners. Can you tell that my sister is, highly educated? She's an assistant principal with like multiple degrees in education. She's taught me tactile. So it goes with your propagate, tactile. Tactile learners, they need piece of paper. Most people need a piece of paper in their hand while they're talking. And then gamification, that's the new thing for millennials. And we're working on trying to find good ways for gamification. I don't know if if you can describe gamification, David. I always have a hard time describing it to people. They're like, what do you mean? You're either going to know exactly what I mean or.
Well, I think that the best way to think of it is with kids' games, because they teach you the concepts of English or math or whatever through playing games. Or it could be that once you answer your first question, then you get a trophy, and then if you get 5 questions right, you get another trophy or a certificate or whatever. So it's just giving you some type of reward for completing something, and they take the video game model where. If you pay attention to video games, you will get from stage 1 to stage 2 pretty quick. Stage 2 to stage 3 is a tad bit longer, and then as it goes, you get it to where it stretches out more and more. But what they want to do is set it up to where you're having rewards for the work you're doing pretty quick early on, and then it takes a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more to get those same rewards. And so it kind of grasps you early on because everybody wants to be rewarded and pat on the back. So it grasps you early on with, hey, cool, I'm already at stage 2. Wow, I'm already at stage 3. I'm at stage 4. Then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, it took me a month to get to stage 10.
Oh yeah. It's like when I give the nephews, they want a video game or something for their birthday or Christmas. We give it to them. And then you say, so how's the game? Now I'm looking for an answer of, hey, it's everything I thought it would be. It's really, really cool. And then I get this detailed explanation of how far they've gotten and why they're stuck on this one level. And of course, it's like level 42 or some, I shot right through the first 20 levels. Then it started getting hard. And I'm like, I still can't figure out how to play the first level. Like the X, the Y, can't do it.
Yeah, my son, he'll buy a game on Friday, and then Sunday he's bringing me the games like, do you want to play it? I'm like, what, you don't like it? He's like, oh no, I'm finished it.
Finished. Yeah.
So
we're not talking about that kind of gamification. Not at all. We're talking about, people, maybe it's like Pavlov's dog, but people like to be, instant gratification has become a part of our social being now because of, the way that, things have, progressed, and you post something and instantly somebody's responding to you and that kind of stuff. So
I think the best gamification I think I've ever seen was at the Azalea Healthcare Conference a couple of years ago when you were speaking, and you told everybody that there's going to be a Q&A at the end where you're going to ask questions. And so, of course, that's not unusual for somebody to say that, but you pulled out a stack of ones. And he was like, okay, I'm going to give money out to right answers.
That's right.
Boy, them people were writing down everything you had to say.
Well, yeah, if people, you ask the question and you give out money, people all of a sudden answer you instead of just staring at you when you're giving a speech. So it is nice.
Yeah, it completely changed everybody in there because they were very much involved and interactive with you at that point because they wanted to get that money.
Well, it's because I was in Savannah having to speak at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning after everybody been partying on River Street. So Those get expensive. If I'm speaking for free and then I'm handing out money, I'm kind of an idiot. But I'll bribe anybody to listen.
At the same time, you know, if you go and you speak to a group, or if you're doing this at your workforce training or whatever, you know, you may only have to pull out either a gift card or maybe 10 ones or 20 ones or 4 or 5s or whatever the case might be. But the point is, you're creating that reward structure for people to be involved, to listen to what you're telling them, and to respond back and give feedback. So, you know, it's an investment in your training program.
Yeah, and that's an investment. That's what we call it. It's a compliance investment. So, speaking of investments in your training program, we've officially finished something you can invest in for your compliance officer training.
Yes, finally. We put a ton of work into this.
Yeah, the video stuff that we were fortunate to have help with is just managing to set it up on the website when, you know, we don't have web developers. We don't have, it's just me and David, really, and Boyan. Don't forget Boyan. He'll get upset. So, Bojangles, Bo
Our editor.
It's just us. And, so it did take a while. So, you know, don't pick on us for it.
Yeah. But we've had a lot of people ask and request training because we talk a lot about it. And we also talk about the training that's out there is just not, it's all right. I'll just say that. It's all right. But the training we've put together, I think that you will definitely enjoy. It's not dry. I don't know that it's quite as fun.
No. So
as
Donna.
our podcast.
Everyone starts with so Donna.
But the cool thing about it is it does cover a lot that you will need to know. And it's not a 45-minute training. It's actually quite extensive compared to what's out there.
Well, it actually goes through the whole privacy security breach, talks about it, and there's a generic that applies to anybody that has to do HIPAA, and then we have covered entity special session, and then a business associate special session. So, and each of them lasts, 7 minutes, 8 minutes? I think the longest one might be 10.
Yeah, the modules are broken down, and it's not talking over PowerPoint slides either. I mean, this is actually, you get to see me and Donna's face.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. But it's not talking over PowerPoint slides, so it's very much a different training method. And each module is about 5 to 8 or 9 minutes. So there's very short, sweet, easy to watch. And I think the BA modules, you're looking at probably maybe 25 or so modules. So it's, you're definitely going to get a huge value.
I think it runs into roughly a little over 2.5 hours if you sat through them all. But they're not designed for you to necessarily do that. Okay, I want to learn about this topic. Let me go to that section.
Yep. So, and it's the way we'll have it set up on the site is it'll be through, not to get all technical, but we'll use a learning management system so that you can track where you are and where you left off and what you completed and what you have left to do. So all that'll be in there for you as well.
Yeah. So one fee gives you unlimited access for a year.
Yep.
Did we decide what we're charging for that?
We are going to charge $47.
All right. So $47 basic compliance officer training for covered entities and business associates.
Mm-hmm. And I challenge you to find the kind of training that is for the same price anywhere else out there.
Yeah.
Not going to get it because I've taken a lot of it.
That's how we started making our own. We kept taking stuff we didn't like. So
yeah.
Or we thought could be better. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So check the website. Check the website out for that. And if you have any questions about it, then just shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions on it.
All right.
But that's going to be the annual type training though, not something that you'd really want to do, every weekend or every quarter, go through the whole thing. Though you could, but we have some other things in the works to address a little more frequent training and workforce training.
Yep. So, and now that we've built the framework, it'll be a little bit easier for us to put things in, because building the framework, we were like, hey, we got the training, and then it was like, how are we going to distribute it?
Yeah.
So and we still have the stuff on some of it, so that's why we're staggering things.
Yep. Takes a lot of hamsters running a lot of wheels to make it work.
Depends on which squirrel is running the wheel, is what you told me earlier.
No, that was in my brain, Yeah. Which one? Squirrel.
All right. Well, I think we've had
there
our
we
time.
go. Awesome. So that was our show for today. If you have liked the show, then of course we've already asked you like 2 or 3 times, but go ahead and
show us some love. It's Valentine's Day.
Show us some love and give us a review at iTunes. And you can also visit us on our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. And you can leave us a voicemail right on the front page there. And we may feature your question or your comment in a future episode. So for Donna and myself, have a happy Valentine's Day. And remember, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.